is good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to an awesome video. Today I'm going to be showing you a principle, not really an effect, not really much of a sleight per se, but more of a principle, an original principle of mine and something I've been working on for a long time, something I've been working hard on to craft and really perfect before I release to you guys, and I think it's just about there. I think I've spent enough time refining it that I'm ready to share. This principle is called the out in the open index, and I've talked about this on the channel before, I think in the Cy Stebbins video that I made. And essentially this principle allows you to have access to any card at any time with any deck with the spectator shuffling it. At least that is how it is perceived by the spectator. If you were to just show them this principle on its own, it would appear that they could just shuffle the deck, hand it to you, name a card, and you could immediately pull it out of a regular shuffled deck. Now obviously this is very useful for a ton of reasons. Being able to have a named card at your disposal from a regular shuffled deck is very important. Now when I was creating this, some of the important things for me was obviously there had to be no gimmicks, it had to use a regular deck of cards, it had to work all the time, it had to be good for me to use on the street when I'm surrounded, and of course also I wanted to make this easy and accessible to everyone. So with that said, this method is nothing insane, it's not some crazy new method I came up with or anything. It's just a simple principle using a lot of psychology actually, and us altering the memory of the spectator to allow us to essentially have access to any card that they name almost instantly without apparently really looking at the deck at all. So this uses a lot of cool ideas, subtleties, and a good chunk of psychology to pull this off. Now there's a time and a place for this, and I'm going to go through all of the psychology, all the things you need to keep in mind, when to best use this, and how to get the best effect out of this principle. There's other open indexes I've heard of before. I know Blaze has one. Essentially, guys, if you don't know, an open index is, normally you think of an index, it's like a pocket index where the index is out of view and you secretly can obtain a card. The deck in play is being used as your index. So it's just a way to get the card into your possession in the deck that you're using. So this is very similar to Blaze's open index idea, but this is called out in the open because even he does try to conceal looking for the card, obviously. We're doing it out in the open, almost right in front of them. Essentially, we're just going to be looking through and taking their card and moving it to where we want it. But trust me, there's a lot more psychology, subtleties, and it's really not obvious at all. And the way it's constructed, the spectator forgets that any of this even happened because it seems so unimportant. So there's a ton of things you can do with this. Stick around and then make sure you guys practice this principle because it is absolutely awesome. I want to thank everyone who's watching this video, all the new subs. Welcome. The channel is growing like crazy and I'm getting a ton of support lately, so that just inspires me to make even better content, even better videos like this open index here and a bunch of other great stuff that I have coming. I'm teaching a couple original effects coming up and some really awesome moves and sleights as well. So without any further ado, let's get into the open index. So guys, in terms of the demonstration for the open index, unfortunately, once you know what it is, and just me telling you it's called the open index and giving you a little bit of what it is, I can't really do it on you. It's never something that's gonna fool you ever again. So I'm gonna show you essentially how quickly it'll allow you to access any card in the deck, any card at all. I'll give you a couple of the different scenarios, but again, this isn't really going to fool you, or it's not going to have the desired psychological effect that it would on your spectator. So wait until the breakdown when I explain exactly how it works, how it goes on, and then we will get there. But for now, I'll just show you how you would access a couple of cards and how quick you can actually do it from a pure mechanical point of view without any of the psychology layers on top. So I'll give the deck a shuffle and then I'll ask the spectator to name any card. Let's say they say the 9 of diamonds. So the 9 of diamonds, perfect. And of course they could have thought of any one of these cards, and just like that, the 9 of diamonds is under my control at the top of the deck. Let's do another example. So I'll give the deck a shuffle and let's say the spectator names the 10 of spades. So the 10 of spades, of course they could have thought of any one of these cards, any one at all. They thought of the 10 of spades. Now, this is absolutely not for the camera and does not look or by any means fool anyone on the camera. It might just look like a cull to you guys, but that's absolutely not what it is. The cull is an important aspect, but let me get into detail now in the breakdown and explain to you what is going on. So in terms of the breakdown, Here's the goal with the open index. The goal is to locate the card that the spectator has named right in front of them, right under their nose, by simply spreading through the cards, but doing it in a manner that is so fast, so relaxed, so nonchalant, that they don't even recall that we've even quickly thumbed through the deck. Okay, we are going to make this seem just as if we were doing this for them. We were showing them the chaos of the cards. We were showing them that the cards are all different. This has nothing to do with the method. That is the goal here, okay? Now, there's also several little things that we do to make this faster than just a call, right? Because you could do just a call. You could say, they name the 9 of spades, and then you start going. You say, look, all of these cards are different. You can see, and then you call it out and control it to the top. And that's fine. And that is similar to this in a lot of ways. But I'm going to show you a lot of things that you can do to make this quicker, and then it's all about when you use this and how you use this. And you're going to get a great example of that in a video that I'm going to teach very soon. It's my impromptu invisible deck that I do with a regular deck of cards that doesn't actually require an invisible deck, and it does use the open index, but the context is so brilliant in that it works so incredibly well. You do have to consider some of these things when you do it. So let's go into the mechanics of this first of all. So the mechanics are very important. Before you have the spectator name the card, you need to be in this position. You're going to spread about as many cards as you can into your right hand if you're right-handed, with being able to see the index of every single card. So you can see here, I can clearly see the index of every card. Now, with my hands, I can reliably do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I was going to say 13. In this case, I have 14. So perfect. So I can do anywhere between 12 and let's say 14 cards reliably in my left hand with no issues. Now think about what this does. More than a quarter, just over a quarter of the deck is in my hand right now. So there's a 25% chance that they will name a card that I can see within half a second. I will be able to access. The other thing we're going to do is with the right thumb, we're going to push over. And with how I can get reliably about 4 cards that I can now see the index. So now I'm seeing about 17, 18 cards right in front of my face. And if you say any one of these 18 cards, which brings us almost to a 33% chance that they will name one of these cards, then I will have it under my control literally without anything seeming to happen. So if you said the 3 of hearts, I instantly see it right there. If you said the King of diamonds, boom, right there. The point is, look, I can see about a third of the deck just from doing this, and I haven't even asked them what the card is yet. The justification for this is you kind of ask the question as you're doing it. So as you're spreading these cards into the hand and pushing these over with the thumb, all right, you can see I have all the indexes visible. Even this one, it's slightly covered, but I can see it's the Ace of Diamonds. And again, now I have about a third of the deck in view. So as I'm doing this, all I say is, so I just want you to name any one of these cards. Right? So it makes sense why I'm spreading through them. It's almost as if to show them to name one, but instead of showing them, I'm just keeping it to myself. But it's still, to them, it doesn't feel suspicious. It kind of feels like I'm showing them, but it's almost like, as I'm telling them what to do, my hands are sort of mimicking it, right? Because a lot of the time you'd say, name any one of these cards. You're essentially doing the same thing, but you're just saying, name any one of these cards, and you're just keeping them towards you. So in their mind, they're just seeing, okay, he's just, spreading the cards just so I understand to name any one of them. And they're not going to question why they're not seeing the faces, because it's more fair that they just name any one that comes to mind. Right? So it's really a nothing moment, but you just say, all right, I just want you to name, let's say, go ahead, name any one of these cards. You can even delay it a bit if you're struggling to get this spread nice and it takes a bit more time. You can even start to do it for no particular reason. Hold it like this and then just say, I want you to name any one of these cards you want. And you kind of gesture with the cards so they get that you want them to name a playing card, right? I want you to name any one of these cards. You just kind of any one of these cards. But you never really show them any of these because you don't really want them to obviously see the card that they end up naming. So it's just slightly towards yourself like this. Now, like I said, a third of the time their card is going to be right here. So let's go over how you access and how you control the card if it's here or here. So if it's here, all you do let's say it's the 7 of diamonds. You place the spread back together, you close it and pick up at the 7 of diamonds very quickly. So the 7 of diamonds is here. This happens while the cards are still towards you. Then you come down into view and do a reverse spread with this hand. Okay, so a reverse spread means you push with the thumb and you change the order of the spread. So you reverse everything from this way to this way. What that does is it conceals all of the pips of the card, but most importantly, it conceals the 7 of diamonds. And even better, you're now in the position to move that card to the top in the action that's almost mimics a cull. Once you place these cards back on top of the deck, the 7 can now drop underneath exactly like a cull and be closed onto the top of the deck, and you have it in your control. Now this can be very free, right? You don't have to be super accurate with this. As long as you break off, in this case at the King of Spades, do the reverse spread, you can move basically all of the cards, the whole chunk to the top, but since the King is the one on the bottom, it'll end up being on the top, right? So think about that. So you go like this and you say, name any card you want. Let's say they say 4 of clubs. It would look like this. You could have said any one of these cards. And just like that, I have the 4 of clubs in my control. Let me show you again how fast that is if they name one of the cards over here. Okay, so in this case, let's say they say 10 of clubs. So I say, you look perfect. You could have said any one of these cards. 10 of clubs in my control. So just quickly at actual speed, I'd spread it off and I'd say, you know what, just name any one of these cards you want. Let's say they say 8 of diamonds and I say, perfect, you could have named any one of these cards you want. They're all different. Boom, and I have it under your control. Or under my control, rather. So that is how insanely fast it is if it's over here. Now, let's go over if it's one of the 4 cards here. Well, essentially, we're going to just cover that card with the thumb. So as we come down, we cover it, and we bring the spread back together. So now if it's one of these cards here, it's the same thing. We're essentially doing a cull, but now it's very easy. We see the card. As we're coming down, we pull with the thumb to cover it. So if it's the 10, we're gonna pull the 8 over top. And if it's the 5, we're pulling the 10 over top. And if it's the King, we're pulling the 5 over top, right? But now we know exactly where the card is. So let's say it's the 10 of spades, right? We'll come down, and now I can hold this position as long as I want because there's nothing for them to see because the 10's hidden here. I can take as much time as I want, call that 10 out, close, and again, I have it under my control. But at regular speed, what it would look like for me is, let's say they say the 5 of diamonds. So I'd say, perfect, you could have named any one of these cards. And just like that, I have the 5 of diamonds under my control. Remember, like in my spread cull video, if you can get their card they name out of view, right? You can hold this position forever because think about it. If you were looking for their card, you would need to know where it is. And in their mind, if they scan right here and they don't see their card, then you don't know where it is either. Right? So now if all you do is seemingly close up the deck, you never saw their card, there's no way you could have it under your control, yet you do. So that's the idea here. These cards, you just want to, as you're coming into view, you do the action of hiding the card. And then you can even just wait here for a sec. I prefer to do this as quickly as possible, but you could. So you kind of go, all right, you could have said any one of these cards. Of course, they're all different. And just like that, I would square up the deck and I can do whatever I want because I know where the 2 of diamonds is, their named card. Now let's get into the other scenarios. There's basically 2 other scenarios. We're dividing the deck into sort of thirds. Obviously, ideally, their card is in the first third, which we can see by doing this. Next best is it's in the second third, which we're going to be able to see from our second spread, and then the final third, which we're going to see from our third spread. So this is about rhythm from now on. So what you do, once you've determined their card is not here or here, you're simply going to do this. You're going to say, all right, you could have said, of course, any one of these cards. They're all different, and that's it. All right, that's all you need to say to get through and see every single card. And think about how quick that is. This is how fast I can see the position of every single card in the deck. So I say, name any card, they name it. And I say, look, you could have said any one of these cards. Of course, they're all different. Done. And that's all the time it takes to get access to any card. So what you're doing, if it's not there, you're putting the spread back together, closing it, and then opening it as you bring it down to them. So that's kind of what's happening. So if you notice it's not there, instead of just coming down like this, close it and then spread somewhere new as you come down. But the sneaky thing that you're doing is you're timing this, right? So these are towards you. Let's say they say 9 of clubs. It takes you less than a second to see it's not here. So then you come together and you say, you could have named any one of these cards, and just in that I've seen 2/3 of the deck. Because what you're doing from behind this angle, you're seeing a third. If they say no, you're closing and then spreading over a new third as you come down. But what you're also doing, right, you see all the cards, you close, now I'm looking for the 9 of clubs. As I'm spreading, I'm just keeping my eye right at the newest cards that are coming into view. So the Jack of Hearts, 2 of clubs, 8 of hearts, I'm just scanning these as I spread. The second I see that card, I cover it with the next card, okay? So I'm here, spread, 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 come into view. If I don't see it, then it's okay. I just openly show it, and then I quickly come back, do it one last time. Now, I've seen the 9 of clubs here, but on the way down, I'm gonna cover it. So now it's out of view. I just cull and close, and I have it under control, okay? Remember, the psychology here is that they feel like they see every card that you see, right? Because of this rhythm, this is a very unique thing here that we're doing, this rhythm, where we're getting a glimpse at the cards just before they are. But to them, it feels like we're just spreading and then they're seeing the cards, right? So it feels like they're seeing every card we see, but it just gives us that second we need to, 10 of diamonds is right here, right? I see it, to cover it as I come down, and now it's out of view. Right? It's right here, but I've just covered it as I've come down. And now I can hold this position theoretically as long as I want before I cull the 10 to the top. Kind of at a faster speed, right? You're spreading, you have your third, you ask them to name a card at this point, because you don't want to name it and then set this up, because that's just more time where they've said the card out loud and you're going through the deck. So spread, name, and ask them to name any card they want. Let's say they say 4 of clubs. So I instantly see it's not here. So before the cards come into view, I close, spread, and I'm looking for the 4 of clubs. If I see it in the second third, I'm going to cover it as I come into view. But I don't see it here this time, so I say, you could have said any one of these cards, and now I just come back up as I do the last spread here, and I'm spreading the last third. Again, coming down, I still haven't seen it yet, but I'm still spreading. There, I see it, one of the last cards in the deck. I'm going to cover it and say, as you can see, they're all different. Boom. And it's under my control. So that's the worst case scenario, when it's all the way at the top. And that only happens, maybe 10% of the time, because it's only, the top couple of cards where that's a problem. And it's not even a problem because it happens so quickly. So at a regular speed, to get through the entire deck with access to any card, you say name any card, and let's imagine it's all the way near the top. This is what I would do. I would say, interesting, you can see that all of these cards are different, and you could have said any one of these cards. That's what? 2 seconds at the maximum. Now the brilliance behind the psychology is we are justifying why we are going through the cards, and to them it's going to feel like such a nothing moment because it just feels like we're showing them that the cards are different, right? It's essentially reframing how we would normally do it. Normally you would show them at the beginning that all the cards are different and then ask for a card. In this case, and when you use this, it's very important, don't show that the cards are different right away. Ask them to name a card. Once they've named it, then say, look, all the cards are different, and you could have named any card. Those are the 2 lines, the money lines that I always use, because, remember, we have the first third, so we don't need to say anything. They name their card. As we close, the first thing we say is, you could have named any one of these cards. That gets us through our second third. And then we come back up, and we say, of course, they're all different, and we come back down. Those are 2 lines of stock patter that I use every single time, and that gets me through the entire deck and allows me to know where any card is. So I'm just going to reiterate the important things really quickly. Make sure you start with a nice spread where you can see all of the cards, and you've pushed off 3 or 4 cards that you can see with this thumb. Now you ask them to name any card. You look for it. If it's here, as your hands are coming down, you're going to break off at the card they name, so 4 of hearts in this case, and reverse spread just as your hands come into view. That's going to block their card from view, and then you simply put the deck here and let the card fall and get put on the top of the deck, right? So that's how you control it. If it's here, it's essentially a cull. You just put the deck down. As you're coming into view, you're going to cover the card, reach your little fingers, cull it, and close right away. If it's in the first third, guys, there's no reason to cull it and then say, all the cards are different. You could have thought of any one, right? The goal here is to close the deck absolutely as fast as possible. So if it's here, King of Spades, I'd come down, cover it, cull it and close right away. And then I could say, you know, you could have said any one of those cards, but I won't say that until after I've closed the deck. I only say it if I need a reason to do another spread, because if you do this and you're dead silent, it's super strange, right? There's no justification. Remember, the psychology here is we're doing this for them. This isn't part of the method. We're just showing them the cards are different. Like it's supposed to just look like here. You see these cards are different? Done. That's essentially what this feels like to the spectator. And because it's such a nothing moment, they end up forgetting that we even did this, because there's literally no reason. They know the cards are different, right? They know it's a deck of cards. They know they could have said any card. So it's something that they forget so quickly that ever even happened. Now, if it's in the second third or the third third, as they're towards you, they name the card, 10 of hearts, you quickly scan, it's not there, you close, and you said, of course, you could have named any one of these cards. And in this, you close up about the first third and you spread open the second third as you come down. And your eyes are where the 3 of spades is right now. So it's right at the newest cards that are coming into view, right? So it's 2 of spades, jack of clubs, queen of clubs, and I see the king of hearts, 7 of hearts. That's so that I can just quickly see every single new card that comes into view. And your eyes can obviously scan much faster than I can say the cards out loud. So I close, come down. If I see it, I just quickly cover it as I come down. If I don't see it, then I just bring the cards back up towards myself as I come down one final time and say, you know, you could have chosen any one of these, or they're all different, whatever you haven't said yet. Quickly on how to do the covering action. Because you're looking, your eyes are at the front of the deck where the new cards are coming into view, right? Your thumb is exposing the new cards. That's what you're watching. You'll notice it, and it'll be right close to this thumb. So it's very easy to reach the thumb over and cover it. Okay, so look, I'll do this exposed. So let's look for the 4 of hearts, say. So I'm looking, there it is, and boom, I just cover it like that, okay? So I'll show you here. Let's look at the 2 of clubs. So it's about there. So watch. I come through. Boom. I see it and I reach over and cover it. It doesn't matter if I reach to the queen. I can reach to the queen and cover it. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? It just needs to get out of view. So I come through, 2 of clubs, 2 of clubs, 2 of clubs, covered. See how quickly that happens? So that happens just like this. I'm spreading and I come down and it's out of view. Now guys, you can be a little bit like slow down your motions a tiny bit while you do this. So what I mean is you do your spread and you're just kind of like this. Just a little bit slow and exaggerated, right? You know, I could just go like this and show them really quickly, but you're just going to give yourself like a split second and just kind of just a little bit slower, right? That's this. So my actual speed when I do this is like this. Name any card for me. 10 of hearts. Perfect. Of course, you could have said any one of these cards. And every one of these cards are different, as you can see. And just like that, it's under my control. Now, of course, keep in mind, people also have no idea about the cull, right? So it's not like they see you cut the cards or do anything. Because the cull is so invisible to laymen, that's another reason that in their mind, even if you did see the card, you didn't do anything to it. So that's another layer of the psychology in this. Now let's get into some subtleties. So just make sure you keep talking. That's very important. That's why we have those stock lines that I give you. You only need 2 of them, right? You just say, all of these are different, and you could have chose any one of these cards, and you can get through the whole deck. The other thing is, obviously, like I said, the goal is close the deck as fast as possible. So be as fast as you possibly can. You know, don't rush. So you mess up, but I just mean the second you see the card, like if it's up here, if it's the 9 of hearts, I'm going to do this and boom, I'm going to say, look, you could have chose any one of these and close it right away, maybe even set it down. That's a nice subtlety. You get the deck out of your hands, out of your control, right? As quickly as you possibly can. That combined with the invisibility of the cull, it literally looks like nothing has happened, yet you've controlled whatever card you want. So the psychology here is the biggest subtleties, guys, right? You use this in a routine at a point very early on, ideally, so that you have plenty of time misdirection, so that they are kind of blurred at what happened. Also, the fact that you do it so quickly and that you're talking as you do it makes it justified, which makes it feel like it doesn't matter, because again, it makes it feel like you're doing it for them, to show them that this is a more fair trick, even though this is part of the method. So it's really kind of a brilliant layer of psychology in that way. It's part of the method, but we're making them feel like it doesn't matter, and we're actually doing this to be a fairer magician, right? Now, in terms of body language, obviously being natural and smooth is important, but the more important, you want to be nonchalant and kind of laid back. So it's just kind of, look, you could have said any one of these, and they're all different. Your hands are open, they're loose, right? That's why I kind of like the moment when I come down and let's see, I spot the 4 of hearts here and I cover it, come down, hands loose or open. They have a split second that they can see the 4 of hearts is nowhere to be seen, and I close it up. I executed the call and I have their card in my control. Now time for some uses and other ideas. Of course, guys, it's very important when you do this that you add a little bit of time delay before the reveal of the card and when you have actually got it under your control. Now I will show you a few little effects or little ideas you can do with this, but I will be teaching my impromptu invisible deck very soon, probably next video, and it is awesome, and the way it uses this principle is brilliant, and it does end up revealing the card quite quickly after it's done, but it's because of the way it's layered, you know, with having the card reversed, that makes it so different, that makes that okay. But that being said, I have used this as the first phase of an ambitious card in a really cool way. So let me teach you guys that really quick. So you can do this as the way to start your ambitious card, right? So you'd say, name any one of these cards. They say 10 of clubs, and you say, it's interesting. You could have said any one of these cards, but the 10 of clubs, watch, jumps right to the top of the deck. So that's a really cool way to open it, right? So you'd let them shuffle first, of course, because that makes it really incredible. And even if the card wasn't right at the beginning, and in that case, the 10 of clubs was third, but even if it's third, the reverse spread still hides it. Even if there's 2 cards, it's the 3 of hearts. It's brilliant. Look, the reverse spread still hides the pips. So you can literally, I still use the reverse spread. If it's the 3 of hearts, I'll break here and say, look, you could have had any one of these, and do it. Just while we're on that, so that they don't name the top card, typically I'll flash it. So I'll kind of go like this, I'll flash it, and then I'll get into my spread. And if they still name it, then I'll close the deck and say, no, that's the card right there, name a different one. And then I'll get right back into it. Because, you know, there's not a great way to do it with that. And even then, it would kind of hinder the effect if they happen to notice that it was right on the bottom. So for ambitious card, right, even if it's closer to the top, let's say the 4 of hearts. So I'd say, okay, you could have named any one of these cards. Look, they're all different. But the interesting thing is if I just wave my hand and snap, one card jumps to the top, the 4 of hearts. In this case, it doesn't need a ton of time misdirection because that's exactly the effect of the ambitious card. And because you're going to be doing several phases after, it'll kind of strengthen this first phase. I find this plays really well, actually, because again, it's so nonchalant that you're just showing them and they obviously don't see anything happen. So because it's so fast, because they never saw the card that they named, so they think you can't have seen it, because you didn't do any moves apparently using the cull, they really don't think the top card has changed because they just shuffled. So the pacing on this is very important, right? You let them shuffle. The second they hand it back to you, you say, all right, perfect, name any card you want for me. They say 10 of clubs. You say, all right, of course you could have named any one of these cards. All of these cards are totally different, right? Well, watch. You shuffled 10 of clubs, one card jumps to the top, and it's the 10 of clubs. It's a really strong, really quick way to open your ambitious card. And then you have the card, you can have them sign it at this point and get into your ambitious card. So it plays really well because of how quick it is, the psychology, and the fact that they give you the deck right away does allow you to reveal this. Like I said, it's nice if you can, have the card under your control and then set the deck down, get into the rest of your effect and then maybe reveal it in whichever way you're going to reveal it. But it does work nicely in the ambitious card with that context. Now, I wouldn't typically just, use it as an ambitious card once by itself. It's more as a control. So now you have the card under control, you can take it into a palm or whatever you need to do. So speaking of palm, another idea that I have used is instead of letting them shuffle right away, in most cases you want to let them shuffle, you take it back and you do the open index instantly, because that makes it feel like you still have no control over the cards. And this works really well if you're in a situation where you feel like you can't palm a card, where you would have them pick it and then you'd hold out the card, have them shuffle it and then add it so it's still under your control. You kind of do it in the opposite order. You let them shuffle, you take it back, then you have them name the card, you do the open index, but because it's so fast, it still feels like they genuinely just shuffled the cards, handed them to you, you quickly said, look, they're all different, and then obviously, they named the card, and obviously they would think there's no way it could be in your control, but you have it. So it basically would simulate that same thing. Another way you could do it is you shuffle, say name any card you want. Let's say they say 4 of diamonds. You go through, do the open index, get their card under control, palm it off, say, here, actually just shuffle the cards real quick. You let them shuffle. As you get it back, you say, what was the card you said again? The 4 of diamonds, yeah? Okay, here's what we'll do. And obviously I have the 4 diamonds in my control instantly after they have shuffled. So it's another way of accessing secretly a named card. And now we can go straight into the palm, have them shuffle and add it. And then it's a little bit different way of sequencing it, but it still works really, really well. You know, the idea here is to be able to have a card named at any time and have it accessed. Throwing in the palm is an interesting way to, you know, subtly let them shuffle and potentially make it more convincing. But I think one of the strengths of this is also bypassing a palm. It's great for the street and stuff if you're fully surrounded and you don't feel like you can get away with a cop or a palm. Then I always go to the open index because, you know, it feels basically the same. It feels like a genuinely shuffled deck where I immediately have their card under control. Whereas the palm would do the same thing. It'd be a genuinely shuffled deck and I would still have their card under control, right? So the open index essentially mimics the same thing without a palm. Now, how can we use this in an any card, any number? That's something that I have explored a lot, and I do use this in certain versions of an any card, any number. My So Acan kind of uses this. It uses more of the cull than this because of the justification. Makes sense why we would go through the deck. But you could replace that with the open index, and then you have a more pure sort of any card, any number, right? Because you say, here, name any card you want. Let's say they say 6 of clubs, right? So you say, perfect. You can see all of these cards are different. And then I say, all right, name any number that you want. And then maybe I just go into doing a second deal. And instantly I have a super quick, super clean any card, any number, right? So you can use this in a ton of different effects. That's kind of the point I'm getting at, guys. If you want to take any effect into a named card effect, this is the principle for you, right? You can literally do it with any effect you want. You let them shuffle, you take the deck back, and you're instantly just showing them that the cards are different. Just make sure that you didn't, you know, already say, look, all the cards are different, here, shuffle. Then you take it back and say, all the cards are different again, right? You let them shuffle, take it back, get set, have them name a card, go through the quick process, and it just feels like they've given you a shuffled deck, you've shown them they're different, and instantly you can have any card that they have named under your control. And that's exactly how they will remember it. I've done this hundreds of times, and people always never suspect. I've never once been called out like this. Whereas with the cull, like if I just do a straight cull where I'm just saying, look, all the cards are different, you could have chose any one of these cards, and it takes a bit longer, and there's more attention brought to it. People, you know, once in a while you'll get the person who says, oh, maybe somehow he you know, figured out where my card was while he was doing that. With this, the context, the way you use it is so important, and it makes it so invisible. So that, just to reiterate, the context is just after they shuffled and you get the deck back, and you're quickly having them name a card and then showing them that, hey, they could have named any one of these because all of the cards are different, of course. One last quick idea. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually peek the top 4 or 5 cards just in case the card they name is there. So how that kind of looks is I get the shuffle deck back, I'll just peek them quick, and I'll just do my best to roughly remember them, right? It's super quick. So I get the deck back and I'll just say like that, and I'll go, all right, here, name any card you want. Now if they say Jack of Hearts, what I would do is I'd close it, I'd spread instantly to the top where I know that it is, cover it and do the same thing, and it would save a ton of time. So that's an idea you can play with. I use it sometimes. I won't lie, I don't use it all the time. But all right, guys, that is the open index. I hope you enjoyed that. Take the time, you know, think about the subtleties, think about the context, and think about how this psychology plays into the open index and why it works and why it is different than just a cull or anything like that. Like I said, the method is nothing super insanely brand new, but the way it layers everything is really what's the brilliance here. And I think you guys, it's something you need to try, you need to work through, right? The best routine to practice it on is the impromptu invisible deck that I will be teaching upcoming, I think, the next video or the one after. So wait for that video, learn that effect, and then practice that, because that is how I almost always use this. And once you get good at it, you'll be amazed at how within, I'd say, less than 2 seconds, you can access any card in the deck, control it to the top. So from there, you can do whatever you want with it, but control it to the top in about 2 seconds, and the spectators will never notice or remember you did a thing. right? And that's the goal here. So it's a really neat principle, and I hope you guys liked it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Just make sure you keep the context in mind when performing this. It's best done when just as they hand you back a shuffled deck, and you can go into it from there. Now, apply this to some of your effects, guys. Let me know how you like it, how it works with some of the effects that you do. But with all that said, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.